Hi and welcome back to Bike Speeds. This week I'm going to be ranking 19 of the most common bike upgrades as a pro mechanic. I'll give them a score out of 10 and then tell you which ones I would choose or avoid. And at the end of the video I'll give you a list of the ones that made 10 out of 10. So let's get started. Let's start off with oversized tyres. Quite a buzzword at the moment. This bike originally started off with 23s and we've upgraded this to 28s, a much larger tyre, more volume, lower pressure, far more comfort out on the road. You want to research your bike to make sure that you can actually fit the tyre size you're looking at getting into the frame that you've got. In this instance, this was the largest we could go to, but they really transform your riding. They give far more comfort out on the road, and with modern tyre technology are no slower than the skinny tyres of 23s and 19s from the 70s and 80s. So a real upgrade in terms of comfort on the bike. Quite an expensive upgrade when you're talking two tyres, tubes, tubeless, whatever it be, but a very, very worthy upgrade and certainly one of the ones you should always look at. So for me, this is definitely a 10 out of 10. Next up, ceramic headset bearings. Ceramic as a word, everyone loves to say they've got ceramic bearings, but in a headset specific, I don't think there's an awful lot of benefit to having a ceramic bearing. Although they would wear quite well, in this area, I think a high quality bearing or a stainless steel, full stainless steel bearing is actually a better alternative than a ceramic bearing. Either way, a good quality bearing or a ceramic bearing will be an upgrade on what most manufacturers put into the bikes. But to me, they're a service item and not one worth spending money to upgrade to. They're much better to spend the money in other areas and just use a good quality bearing in this area. So for me, ceramic headset bearings are a 2 out of 10. One of the premium upgrades in the cycling world is the oversized jockey wheels. These are supposed to give a much straighter and smoother line to the chain. Usually, as with this one, they come with ceramic bearings and a much more premium product. They really are a luxury item within the cycling world. So one of the last upgrades that people tend to do would be very much about marginal gains rather than significant gains. So very expensive for very marginal gains, but a very nice thing. So for me, these are a 3 out of 10. Next is clipless pedals. These are more a beginner upgrade really, because once you go to clipless pedals, you don't go back. But as soon as you can get into clipless pedals, the better. They help you deliver the power more efficiently to the drivetrain, and they actually stop your foot bouncing on the pedal over rough terrain. So the bike becomes far more stable for you as a rider once you've gone into clipless pedals. There is some setup costs. Obviously you have to buy the pedals. You also have to find a pair of shoes that fit nicely to clip into them with your cleats on them. So they can take a little bit of setting up and getting used to. Getting your foot out of them is not so much practice art, it's more about muscle memory. I think we've all fallen when we first went out on clipless pedals. We've all got stories of how we couldn't get our foot out quick enough, and you've certainly seen videos online of people falling over from clipless pedals. But they are muscle memory. Once you get that muscle memory, they're very easy to deal with and very easy to use. So for that reason of being a little bit tricky to get used to, I'd rate those 9 out of 10. If you're not into tubeless tyres, a great upgrade is a TPU inner tube. You can see here how small and compact these are, and they're very light in comparison with a traditional inner tube. Very easy to fit, a one and done, put them in and you're ready to go. They're a little bit more hardy against punctures than traditional tubes. They sit in your spares bag nice and easily, being so small. So for me, these are an absolute must-have upgrade for a tubed tyre. So for me, 10 out of 10. Next up, I'm going to talk about bar tape. It's a very common thing for a new rider to get pins and needles and numbness in their hands when riding. Often they believe that a nice thick bar tape will solve that problem. It often won't. It's usually down to bike fit or just not developing the core muscles to make the riding not give you the pins and needles in the palms of the hands. But if you're a seasoned rider, or in fact if you're a new rider, it's a very cheap upgrade to do. So on this bike we've got a nice 3mm cushioned comfort bar tape that will wash down and clean down nicely, rather than some of the ones that are more of a material base that get dirty very quickly. So it's a good cheap upgrade, and for me it's a solid 5 out of 10. Next up we have a bit of bling for you, a carbon bottle cage. The beauty of carbon is that you can buy it at any price point. You can buy a nice cheap one or a lovely branded one like this that fits the bike perfectly. Nice bit of weight saving, very easy to get hold of. Buy it one day, fit it the next, and you can bling up your bike. So nice talking point to have carbon bottle cages. So for me, a 7 out of 10. Next up, we're talking carbon handlebars. You can see here we've got this unique double stacked system here, but a carbon handlebar is a very nice thing to have. They're usually more ergonomically shaped for your hands and for comfort. They're usually more aero, so they perform slightly better than a standard bar, but a very costly upgrade to install. Not only do you have the cost of the bars, but also the cabling and the routing and everything else for the brakes and the gears, so they can be quite time consuming to fit. So probably an upgrade you would look more at in terms of a bike that is new, maybe an upgrade to a new bike with a nice set of aero handlebars. So for me, these are a 4 out of 10. Let's talk about cables. For those still on cable actuated brakes and gears, a lovely upgrade is a super slick cable. Most manufacturers use a cable that have a coating on the cable that can clog in the outers, most noticeably on a bike with internal routed gears where they may have tubes inside the frames. This ravels up and clogs those and gives you very poor shifting or braking performance. So we replace all those types of cables with a lovely super slick cable. It's a tightly wound stainless steel cable. We do actually sell these on our website. There is a link in the description below. So do check out our website and help support the channel when you're upgrading your cables. But aside from that, we fit these daily. They're a lovely smooth cable, really work well. And I definitely give these a 10 out of 10. Next up is premium brand chains. In my experience, a lot of shifting issues are when people have replaced the original chain with an upgraded chain, where it's just not quite sinking and shifting nicely. The original manufacturer chains are often patented designs that work with their chain sets and group sets. So in my opinion, always stick to a manufacturer's chain. Never upgrade your chain. So for me, an upgraded chain is a 1 out of 10. Another luxury upgrade is a Q-ring or oval chain ring. These are the oval chain rings that as you turn the pedals will alter the gearing just marginally as you're turning and putting the power through the pedal. I like them for long distance riding, anything 50 miles and beyond. I find them very comfortable, and I feel the bike has a much smoother flow to it. It just feels the riding is much more smooth and subtle. So for me, on a long distance ride, a Q ring or oval chain ring is absolutely perfect. So again, quite a costly upgrade, a little bit of a luxury item maybe, but to me, a lovely thing to have. And for me personally, on a long distance ride, they're a 9 out of 10. Disc brakes. You will get a disc brake upgrade if you're on rim brakes at the moment and you buy a new bike. Most new bikes are on disc brakes, but they are more expensive to install. They take a little bit more setting up, and they are a little bit more temperamental than a rim brake, so they will require a little bit of upkeep. But you cannot argue with the performance of a disc brake. They are way superior to a rim brake. Excellent braking performance in both the wet and the dry. So they're a great upgrade. We've actually been accused in the comments of being disc brake haters, rim brake lovers, or the other way round, depending on the way you've viewed what we've said in the past. So we're going to sit right on the fence on this one, let you decide, and we'll rate these a 5 out of 10. Next is the power meter. In this case, we've got a power arm on here on the left hand side. You can get power cranksets, power pedals. These really are the next level of cycling if you're really taking your cycling seriously. These will record your data and really improve your training and your cycling. So these are an 8 out of 10 because whilst there is no negatives to them, they're a very expensive accessory. So 8 out of 10. Next up is wheels. It's the #1 improvement you can make to your bike. Most manufacturers tend to skimp a little bit on the wheels. They tend to put the money into other areas. So you may have got a bike that's got an aluminium wheel. You can upgrade to a carbon fiber wheel. You'll get a massive weight gain, save in there. You can get different profiles of wheels according to what riding you're doing. You can get bladed spokes which have aero gains, different bearings. The improvements that each wheel set offer are vast, so you need to do your research when investing in a set of wheels to make sure they're the right wheels for you. But the gains to a wheel set, the way a bike rides and performs, is just amazing really. I've often took bikes out where I've changed wheels and you can't quite believe it's the same bike. So always invest in good wheels. So these are definitely 10 out of 10. Tubeless tyres, they've been well adopted in the mountain bike world, but in road bikes, they're a little bit more controversial. They can cause problems. People have horror stories with these out on the road where they've had problems with punctures. I personally have never had a problem with them, but they do have a certain amount of cost with setting them up. So not only have you got to buy the tyre, you've got to buy new rim tape, you've got to buy the sealant, different valves, and so on. So they can be a little bit more problematical to set up, but once set up, they should be no problems, and I've certainly never had any problems, but they are a controversial subject even to this day. So for me, these are a 5 out of 10. Controversial one now is ceramic bearings. People often talk about upgrading their bottom bracket to a ceramic bottom bracket, but I think you have to look at the bike as a whole. So if you're doing any ceramic bearings, you want to put wheel bearings in, bottom bracket bearings in, hub bearings and the jockey wheels, and the bike will flow smoother than anything you've ever ridden before. I actually love ceramic bearings. I do that to most of my bikes. It is a costly thing to do, but if you can afford it, a solid 10 out of 10. Next up is the saddle upgrade. It's almost the first upgrade you want to do to any bike. There are many, many different types of saddles, so you can get different lengths, different widths, different materials for different types of riding and different types of bike. So with this one, we have the dip down at the front for the aero position. You may have a short stubby saddle for time trialing. You may have a long slender saddle for racing. So there are many, many different styles and sizes. You want to research your saddle before you buy it, but manufacturers tend to just put one generic saddle across the range of bikes that they're selling. So it's the absolute first upgrade for me to any bike is to make sure that I've got the right saddle on it. So for that reason, it's a 10 out of 10. So finally on our list for a lovely upgrade is of course electronic shifting. Two main players really are Shimano and SRAM. The Shimano system is a little bit less intuitive perhaps than the SRAM, in that if you've got 12 speed shifters, they do need to be wired in to upgrade the firmware. That you will probably have to go to a shop to have achieved. And from my point of view as a shop, it was much more costly to get into servicing Di2 than it was the SRAM system, which you can do all on the app and do all your firmware updates on the app. And I also find with the SRAM, with the separate batteries, they're a little bit easier to swap out and charge, where obviously with the Di2 with the battery in the seat post or underneath, it's a little bit more fiddly to deal with a battery issue. But aside from that, both systems are lovely to ride, joyous, and make every ride on a bike with electronic shifting an occasion. So certainly as a retrofit upgrade, quite expensive. It's very, very difficult to upgrade this on some bikes retrofitted. But if you get the option to buy a new bike and you can spec electronic shifting and it's a click button, definitely go with electronic shifting. So for me, electronic shifting as an upgrade is definitely a 10 out of 10. So that's the most common upgrades considered. We did have a few 10 out of 10s there. Remember, this is just my own personal views and thoughts. Obviously the wheels, the saddle, electronic shifting, the TPU tubes, the oversized tyres, the super slick cables and the ceramic bearings. So quite an array of jobs there that would improve and enhance any ride. So do drop in the comments any that we may have forgotten, some maybe that are your favourites, and do like and subscribe, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Bye for now.